Hey guys, Mike Bonfanti here with Financial Planning Sessions, and today I want to talk to you about your emergency fund. The common wisdom on this is that you need 3 to 6 months worth of expenses set aside in case of emergencies, but there still seems to be a lot of confusion about what this actually means. So what expenses? 3 months or 6 months? That's a pretty wide range for most people, so let's break it down. So first, let's get a good definition of what it's for. An emergency fund protects you in the event of a job loss, disability, or death in the family. So real emergencies that cause a loss in income. Now, if you live in Louisiana, you can make a real good argument for an emergency fund needing to be quite large because of the floods in 2016. But for the purposes of a traditional definition, we'll exclude anything that could have been covered by insurance, even though we all know that's not how it happened. Don't get confused that this is for a vacation or when you need a new set of tires. It's true you'll pull the money from savings in those situations, but your income wasn't affected in any way, and you should immediately build it back up to where you need it, as well as trying to include those expenses into your budgeting. So now that we've talked about what it's actually for, let's talk about what it is. So this seems to be a part that gets people confused somewhat. So is it 3 to 6 months worth of income, 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, 3 to 6 months worth of take-home pay? The way I explain it is by distinguishing between discretionary and non-discretionary expenses. So non-discretionary expenses are those that don't stop if you become disabled or lose your job, like mortgage or rent, car payments, electricity bills, those types of things. Discretionary expenses are things that stop by choice. Sushi dinners, wine, even retirement savings can be stopped if necessary. So since there's no reason to cover expenses that you can eliminate if you tell your inner adult that you're not going to spend that money anymore, then you don't need 3 to 6 months of those expenses in your emergency fund. So what is it? Is it 3 months or is it 6 months? This part's a little more subjective, and it has a lot more to do with your personal situation. If you're married and both spouses are gainfully employed in stable positions, you could probably get away with 3 months worth of expenses. Assuming you have life and disability insurance covered, you pass the adulting test. However, if one spouse makes $100,000 and another spouse makes $20,000, then obviously the one that makes $100,000 loses their job. The other spouse won't be able to support the family's expenses, so you'd lean more towards the 6-month time frame. If you're single, you're it. You should lean towards 6 months worth of non-discretionary expenses because there's nobody else who can go to work if you lose your job or become disabled. So I'd like to mention one thing about the relationship between debt and emergency funds, and that's this. Debt is a non-discretionary expense, but this is something you can pay down and get rid of. You'll lower how much you'll need in reserves or emergency funds. So let's say you have a $500 car payment. You'll need between $1,500 and $3,000 in cash just for that alone. So if you get to a point where you only owe $3,000 on your car, you can safely pay that off and be in the same position financially. So I hope this clears up some things regarding emergency funds. If you have any questions or would like to discuss what your emergency fund should look like, please find me at bonfantiinvestments.com.